I've been experimenting with a new way to structure my day and tackle my projects. And that involves kind of unstructuring it. Every single day is different, and I love that about my life, when I'm not panicking that I'm doing it wrong because I can't seem to concentrate on just one thing at a time. The messaging I get from the world outside is that the chaos mode that is my default operating system isn't the way to approach life if you want to be successful and productive, whatever that means. For decades, I've been fighting against my instincts, which are to bounce from task to task with seemingly no rhyme or reason and having a ton of projects on the go at once in various areas. I generally exist in a state of seemingly disordered chaos until all of a sudden I look up and realize I've finished a whole array of things all at once. As a result of this mismatch between what is and what I've been told should be, I've spent thousands of hours and dollars reading books on productivity and scheduling and the best time and task management strategies and quit procrastinating and trying to fix my brain and my approach. Every few months, I decide that I need to be more linear, more focused, and just do one thing until it's done. Inevitably, this results in frustration, disaster, and at least a couple days of hiding from my life by retreating into reading stories or watching rom-coms or cozy mysteries until the dopamine batteries are all charged up and the shame at not being able to do my life properly, air quotes here, has retreated. Spoiler alert, after 4.5 decades of this, it's only getting worse, not better. Ladies with bodies and brains and hormones of a certain age and stage, I feel you. The struggle is real. Aside from my husband, who has witnessed this process unfolding in real time over and over and over for the last 20 years, nobody else really sees this chaotic side of me. But every time I get into one of those post-organization binge funks, I hold on to something Jared told me years ago. He said, if you can figure out how to stay out of your own way, you'll be unstoppable. And that phrase has honestly kind of haunted me, but in a good way, because it makes me think about how exactly does one get out of one's own way. And where all that thinking about has led me is that no matter how chaotic or disordered or frenetic this may look or feel from the inside or the outside, I can and do get a phenomenal amount done when I'm doing what I call chasing the energy. I think the way I clean the house is probably the best illustration of the way my mind works. And how I've adapted to it over the years is particularly interesting, as this is one area where I've never really seen a reason to fight my instincts. I don't think I consciously even thought about how I was cleaning until a friend asked me to explain how I tackled it, as she was looking for different approaches that people used to try to find a new way of doing things for herself. So, how do I clean my house? Well, as a kid, I had my bedroom either on the upper floor, which had only my brother's room and mine, or it was the very last room in the house at the furthest end of the hallway, where honestly no guest would ever go by accident. I think this was probably by design, because while my brother was perfectly tidy and always impeccably organized, I would create complete chaos with my stuff, and then feel so totally overwhelmed I didn't know where to start to make sense of it. My mom, in her infinite wisdom, told me just to pick up the first thing in front of me and put it away, and then pick up the next thing I saw and put that away, and eventually, if I just kept going, all the things would be put away. And guess what? It worked then to clean my room, and it still works now when I tackle our whole apartment. I just pick the first thing in front of me that I can see that needs doing. Maybe it's putting in a load of laundry. And then when I'm in the laundry room, there could be some clean clothes that need to be folded and put away. And then when I'm putting those in my dresser, I might notice the dusting is long overdue, so I clean the dust off all the surfaces in the bedroom. And I just keep going until there's nothing jumping into my vision and calling out to be done. Or until I run out of energy and declare, I quit this day. Some days I run out of steam faster than others, but usually that energy of completion and the little dopamine boost from each completed task keeps me rolling for quite a while, and I make a real dent in whatever needs to be done. When I described this method to my friend, I used a lot of bouncing and pinging noises, and the picture that was in my mind was me as the ball in an old school pinball game, bouncing around the house with each task like a peg that would light up and give me a little ping of dopamine and add to my points total when I completed it. You can break that pinball game down into some more boring and logical steps. So 1, set a big picture goal, which is clean your house. 2, break it down into smaller, easily completable tasks like clean the toilet, wash the clothes, dust the bedroom, do the dishes. And then just do whatever is directly in front of me until I run out of obvious tasks. So just do the next thing. So does it work if I do it this logical way? Like just make a list of all the things that I need to do and then go do the things on the list? No, it does not. Logically, that makes sense. And I've tried dozens, if not hundreds of ways over the years to get from pinball approach to task list, but it just doesn't work for me. I love making lists, but once a thing is on a list, I'm much less likely to do that thing. And if it's not in the right order, or I hit a block and I can't finish the next thing, everything kind of falls apart and the resistance just grows. Lists are great for one thing, though. It's a great way to get me to do everything that's not on the list. Anyone else feel me? Since in this next era, I'm leaning into just being as much myself as I can possibly manage, I might be ready to acknowledge that maybe it's not just cleaning the house where my mind works best with the freedom to bounce around instead of being in a constant battle. If I'm being honest, all the best work phases in my life have involved that same pinball type approach. I work on a whole bunch of projects in different areas and I just tackle task after task after task until all of a sudden everything is done. The challenge with this is it can lead to longer periods where it feels like none of the bigger projects are really getting completed. But as long as you focus on the little tasks that get you closer to that bigger picture win, then you can make it through the what I call doing times to get to the done times. The biggest and most challenging part, though, is to give yourself permission to get out of your own way and just do you, regardless of what other people might say is going to work better for you. But if you think the pinball approach might work for you, I am going to share a few bits and pieces that might be of use to you as you conduct your own pinballing experiments. So the first thing that's really important, you have to decide what game you're playing. So what would feel like winning? What do you want to have done or have at the end of the game? Maybe it's a clean house or an organized garage or a bunch of completed paperwork or all your errands complete, or maybe it's just having spent time with certain people. The next thing is, what pegs do you want to light up? So if I'm setting myself up for a successful game of pinball, I want to set the pegs that I'm going to bounce off of carefully. Otherwise, if my goal is having a stocked pantry, I could end up scrolling Instagram all weekend and pinning 1,000 recipes I'll never make instead of actually making something. So what will I make progress on this weekend or this week? Well, if my goals are I want to restock my pantry, which means doing some food prep and doing some canning. Maybe I want to spend some chill time with my family, and maybe I want to work on my crochet skills because that's something I'm learning right now. I like to grab a scrap piece of paper from the recycling or a pad of sticky notes and quickly brainstorm just 6 things that would all get me closer to whatever I decided was winning the game this time. And a quick reality check. Can you see the moment when you'd cross off that square or call that task completed? If not, you might have multiple pegs stuck together. Break it down if the thing is too big or more than one step, so you can check off each bit and clearly see what the next bit is without getting stuck on details of what to do next or how to move that thing forward or whether or not I have what I need. The next step is gathering supplies or setting up your game. If you look around our home, there are hardly any areas that contain things behind cupboard doors. We've taken off the closet doors, most kitchen cupboards are open shelves, and things are stored very, very openly. I also create areas or corners or nooks or cubbies for different purposes and try to make sure all the things you'd need or want to do something in that area are located nearby. Why am I doing this? Well, if I can't see it, it ceases to exist for me, and that means it isn't a clearly defined peg for me to bounce off of. And what happens if there's no clear peg? Well, it gets eliminated from the pinball game of life. So, if you are preparing for a game, you can take out the ingredients for something you want to make and leave it on the counter in your way. And then every time it's in the way, it'll prompt you to think about just doing it so it's out of the way and cleaned up. And you know for sure also that you have what you need to complete the thing. If you don't have what you need, make a list as each item comes up as missing and ask your network if anyone has a spare you can borrow, or plan a trip to get what you need from the store, or order it for delivery. Or if you're playing a longer game, like you're trying to write a book or complete a multi-session kind of project, then try to pick a space where you're going to work on that project and gather all your materials together, even if it's just a box or bin that's easy to grab and put away, so you'll have everything you need and you won't waste your precious project time on getting ready or finding your stuff. You want to keep that energy for bouncing off of things. Okay, and lastly, this one is something I call it's game time, which is basically just time blocking. If I get deep into something, the rest of the world ceases to exist, and I will forget to eat or shower or get dressed or engage with the world. While this intense state of focus can really move something forward, it can also create a pervasive fear of going into that flow state, because it means I lose track of any commitments I might have. If there's something planned for later in the day, it's all I can focus on until it's out of the way. So, one way I've figured out around this is that if I have a meeting later, I'll do everything I need to do to prep for that meeting first thing so that I know I'm ready. And then I set a timer for 10 or 15 minutes before the meeting. And until then, it's game on and I can lose myself in whatever I'm working on. Sometimes I set a timer for when the game's supposed to start. So at 12:50 every day, a timer goes off that I've labeled as get ready for Moneyball, which means it's time to switch to playing pinball, but with paid client work. So I am working on whatever tasks are going to move forward the client projects that I have on the agenda. You can also set the duration of play. So you can set a timer to go off when it's time to be done. And then all you need to do is keep on riding the energy until that timer goes off. I do this when I have a specific appointment I need to be ready for or a commitment that is time specific, so I don't break the momentum or spend all my time watching the clock. Okay, I know that was a lot thrown into the small space there, but I'm hoping that in sharing how I'm trying to befriend my own operating system and transforming the pinball approach my brain prefers into a feature and not a bug will at the very least give you something to go think about in terms of opportunities to experiment with this in your own life. Because I've been trying this for a few weeks now, and I have to say it's been going really well. The points are racking up. I'm bouncing off all kinds of interesting pegs, and best of all, I'm having a heck of a lot more fun playing the game every day. And after all, isn't that the goal? Remember my sign from episode 1? The goal is to stay alive and enjoy the ride. And it's possible the pinball approach just might be able to help you do both. Thanks for listening to Go Think About with Crystal Hunt, the podcast where we keep it real, keep it human, and keep it honest. Before you take off, please remember to hit the follow or subscribe button in whatever app you're listening to the show. It'll help you stay on top of when new episodes are released, and it'll help me stay motivated to keep on creating, knowing that you are out there listening.